Evening and a very warm welcome to this episode of Intellectual Conversation.
Good
Today's
evening.
topic is the rise of Indian middle class and book reading. Intellectual Conversations debates and discusses interesting and stimulating topics under the aegis of Phoenix Literature Festival. Phoenix Literature Festival is a platform which provides an opportunity to writers, authors, readers, book lovers, and artists of all kinds to showcase their talent. I again welcome all the three guests and thank them for the opportunity that they have given us and their time to discuss this important topic. Let me
Thank
first start by introducing our guests. Our first guest is Shweta Maheshwari. Shweta Maheshwari is an author as well as a speaker by passion, a thought designer by intention, and a life coach by compassion. She is associated with the education industry, working with Allen Carrier Institute as an ESOL faculty. She was conferred with India Prime Author Award in 2021, very recently. She also won international speech contest at division level. She was honored as Purvanchal Ka Gaurav by Maheshwari Sabha. She also represented India on World Speech Day 2021. She believes in the motto "Involve to Evolve." The books she has written are She Met Life, which has been a bestseller, and Life at the Rate of Crossroads. Our second esteemed panelist today is Vivek Chaturvedi. Vivek is a full time banker in his professional life. Wow, interesting. Is a biking enthusiast and an adventurer. He has a commendable measure of achievement in extreme sports such as skydiving, scuba diving, bungee jumping, rapping. I think he has not left anything, and many more. At
Rappling.
35 years of age, he set out to achieve his long cherished dream of becoming a published author and spent the next 5 years pursuing it. His first book, The Secret of Stolen Idols, was a resounding success, having drawn immensely from his experience of his life in Goa, his travels and adventures. He is currently writing a fiction tale in horror genre and another non-fiction on management. Our third guest today is Haritos Srivastava, a very interesting mix of professional life and creativity. Haritos is an IT project manager with 14 years of industry experience. He hails from a small town, Jaunpur, in the state of Uttar Pradesh. Working with Tata Consultancy Services, is currently deputy to Basingstoke, UK, serving as a top pharma customer. He loves to mentor and coach young professionals and students in their endeavors, making their journey better and beautiful. He's a passionate storyteller who loves to talk. He's an award winning speaker, having won accolades in India, the US, as well as the UK. He loves volunteering and giving back to the community. He has participated in various community building activities within and outside India. He is also a YouTuber and through his channel keeps bringing new, captivating, and inspiring content, including inspirational interviews, books, reviews, and vlogs. He also runs a podcast, Small Town Bigger Dreams. He published his first book, Small Town Bigger Dreams, earlier this year in Kindle, and paperback edition was launched on 2nd November. The Kindle book was among top 12 bestsellers for 3 days in Amazon India, and the paperback was also among top 5 bestseller books in personal time management category. Thank you and welcome all of you.
Thank you.
Now
Thanks
Welcome
a
to
going
you.
to
lot. I
the
mean,
Thank you, thank you. Now coming to the topic, the rise of Indian middle class and book reading. A study reported that the average attention span of a human being was 12 to 13 seconds in 2000, and in 2015 it has become 8 seconds. Now, to bring things in perspective, the attention span of a goldfish is 9 seconds. So Homo sapiens as a race has got an attention span lesser than a goldfish. So the topic which we have in the context of rise of Indian middle class and book reading, I'd like to ask first of all, Vivek,
Mhm.
how has the rise of Indian middle class impacted book reading? Has it gone up, down, or has the quality of readership gone up? Your ideas on the subject, Vivek.
See,
Vivek.
frankly, in generally accepted views, or even what we observe, whether you are driving in a metro or a bus or a college, you will find a strong linkage between middle class and readers, younger, enthusiastic people, aspirational people who are in the lower class who wish to get a chance to move into a middle class. They will generally read more, and it's in fact a chicken and egg kind of a thing. The people who are reading more will generally be more mobile from the lower class and move into a middle class, and also from middle to a higher class. There is definitely a correlation between middle class and reading, and more so for English reading. Now I think all three of us are English writers only, and even the medium of expression in this discussion is also English. So vernacular reading will also reduce as there is mobility from lower class to middle class and from middle to high class. As they say, in average, CEOs, they read about 50 to 60 books a year minimum. And I think an average college goer reads no more than 3 or 4 books. So average professionals will read books spread across fiction, non-fiction, biographies, autobiographies. But the reading is certainly linked with middle class and income group, and also as to professions. So middle class people are normally either small businessmen or they are professionals. So professionals do in fact spend little time in reading books. There is no question about it. There is a strong linkage, and India has, I think, one of the highest populations of people residing in middle class, especially the younger one. Around 50-55% of the groups of Indian population, they identify as middle class. Now, identifying oneself as middle class and actually being there, they're two different things, of course. But middle class is strongly correlated with reading, and even in the higher class, you will find extensive reading. It is the lower class that reads less, whether it is time management or the fact that across generations they have read less and therefore they are in the lower class. That converse theory is very important, since it is not a familial habit, or since parents have not read, they have not been able to move from lower to middle or middle to higher class, and therefore they fail to inculcate that habit even in their children. And it is not just a class incidence, it's also the reason why you're in that particular class. So it is linked both ways. If you read more, you will move into a middle class and higher class. And if you are already in the middle class, it is natural that your children, your brothers, siblings, or your friends will certainly be reading more and more. More so in English than in vernacular. Vernacular language fiction, particularly, sells more and more in people who are averse to English, and people who read English as well as who are rather conversant with English as well as vernaculars will generally end up reading more of English. So that is what we have observed even empirically, and also studies across the internet or public domains will indicate this fact.
Okay. Great, great. Thank you, Vivek, for that insightful answer. I'd like to have the viewpoint of Shweta on this, the same. How has the rise of Indian middle class impacted book reading? Yes, increased, decreased, quality increased, decreased. So, what's your viewpoint, Shweta?
See, what I feel, Anil, definitely, the number of people, those who are reading, like in the middle class, that has definitely, grown up. Like, if you will check me, as Vivek was talking about lower middle class. See, to be very honest, from when I was a childhood, I belonged to a lower middle class house, and yes, there was less reading habit. But as we grew up, like you, if we find like, yeah, we are into some other category, and when we are into our working fields like corporates or where we are working, we feel that the importance of reading means how reading is actually impacting our, not only our lives but our persona, our character, everything. And these days, as I was just researching, that even the middle class is also shrinking in India. So I hope, just because of the reading, this thing is actually, taking place, the increase is taking place. So definitely, yes, middle class, yes, people are reading these days, not only to gain knowledge, but there are a lot of factors they find that yes, reading is going to greatly impact their lives. As I am a live example, as I am saying, like, yeah, reading has definitely impacted, and because of reading I am an author. So definitely it has an impact.
Yeah, great, great. I'd like to move to Haritosh. Haritosh also comes from a small town in Uttar Pradesh, and I'm sure his experience would also be insightful to what we are asking here right now. So, Haritosh, how do you see this rise of Indian middle class and book reading?
Thank you, Anil, and welcome everyone. Thank you for inviting me. I also see like the other panelists. I think I wouldn't say it's a rise. I would say it's a journey for the middle class. When I was in a small town, we used to have a lot of books. What happens is when you go move from when you are a kid, you are more about stories, books, and all those picturist book. I remember we used to have that Super Commando and other comics, and that's how the reading habit started. But then you move on, you get into all your professional studies and all, and then you move on where you try to work into, you choose a genre. Basically you go into either a fiction and things like that, or you move into personal development or any other genre. So I think even for middle class, there are different varying reading habits, and it depends more than the class. It's more of a personal thing. People would like to read what they choose based on that. I don't think it's really got to do with, whether you are middle class, lower class, or higher class. If you are interested in a reading book, you will go and find it out.
Yeah, thank you, Haritosh, for that insightful answer. One thing which Haritosh and Shweta have said is that once you found out that book reading helps, so Indian middle class is very uh, has a inspiration to go up, and that's why we are seeing so much happening in the Indian middle class. Do you
Yes.
think that this book reading is also one of those things that will catch on with the Indian middle class, because they also see this book reading as an inspirational thing and a way of letting them grow from the middle class to a higher level in the society? Do you think this will help them? And the question goes to Shweta.
See, Anil, definitely, I would say that it is going to help. But how you are going to use it? It's not like reading is going to help you. It's like how you are going to apply your reading habits, and whatever you have learned, you are going to apply. That is going to help you. That yes, whether reading is helping you to move up. Yes, in my case, it has definitely helped me a lot, learning a lot, theories, formulas, or from the stories, emotions. You understand people, you empathize people, and when you grow in your persona, when you grow in your, when you enhance yourself, definitely it's not only your personal enhancement, it's your enhancement in every area of life, whether spiritual, emotional, whether financial, or whether your personal life or your professional life. It is going to help, but the how you are using your reading habits means, are you practically using it in your day to day life? That definitely will help. Yes.
Okay, great, great answer, great answer. Thank you, Shweta. That brings me to a question, which is there has been an increased availability of books, mostly from Indian authors, because of the spread of social media, because of the ease with which people can publish books on different platforms. So, how do you see this as a factor in context of middle class? Are more because of there are more Indian authors, are more people reading, or the options are more, but the number of people reading is the same? I would like Haritosh to uh, give his viewpoint on this.
Beautiful question, Anilji. I guess it comes with a double sword to say. Of course, if we talk about 15, 20 years back, there were not many options. So you have to go and grab a paperback edition and do that. And we now have Kindle. You can read, or you can also listen to audiobooks. So of course, there are many formats available. But I said double sword because you also have a lot more distractions as well. We have talked about social media. We have so many distraction. And one of the challenges I feel a lot of people have is, when do I study? Because whenever I start reading, I will get a phone call, I'll see a ting on my phone, I'll get distracted. So it's not even a different distraction, but of course there are a lot more options. If you are interested and you are inclined towards reading, you can still do the paperback. You have Kindle, you have audiobooks, and you can go and watch YouTube, which has all the reviews and all the things about a book. So
I'd
Thank you,
also like to
Haritos.
add a line, Anil. Here,
Yeah,
see,
please,
over
please
the
go ahead.
last, yeah, please. So, last 10, 15 years, as Haritos has also said, there have been a plethora of Indian authors who've been coming up with some really good work, actually. And what
Yeah.
I've seen over time is that, specific genres, they've evolved very deeply. So you've got horror, you've got romance, and then you've got subcategories like time management, where Haritos is writing. So all these books, that and their categorization, which has become very very demarcated, that will actually improve readership. What happens is that if there are people who have now become very clear in their interests, people like crime thrillers. So though that set of people will go on reading crime thrillers, they will not now buy randomly books on Mills and Boons or romance anymore. That evolution has certainly happened. So people who are reading, at that aspirational class you were talking about, gentries that want to move into management or sales, they've actually started picking up books. Picking up, reading or not is a secondary issue. They've actually started picking up books, which is also
Yeah.
very important commercially
Yeah.
for authors.
Correct.
And
Correct.
that plays a vital role. In fact, as authors, we know that we need sales. So picking up a particular book and then waiting for that category, new authors to come in, or the same author writing a new book, a sequel. So that sales will it has been rising. So I've been in connection with a lot of authors lately, especially in the last 2 years. I have seen that people who've written one book and who had maybe a sale of for example, 1,000 books. So the next book will see the same 1,000 buyers buying very quickly, no
Okay.
sooner that author writes another book, even if they've not really enjoyed or read the first book. That's happening. So that brand and that stickiness is already taking shape in India also. So that's a good sign. Apropos of your question of when many authors are there or many books are coming in, is that going to impact reading per se? Yes, it will, because more choices will certainly increase. It is getting a hint of consumerism even in the art of reading a book. Writing is an art, so is reading. So that consumerist tendency that has to come in, like if I'm a girl at in a college, and I have bought 3 books and my peers are not buying any books, so that becomes a problem. So my peers will also buy books. Buy again, I say, reading, hopefully. So that is spreading now, and that's amazing.
That was very insightful, that empirical data that you provided. So, you said that people who have already bought, they buy the second book of the same author again. So, does
Mhm.
that impact how the authors are writing the books? Do they necessarily look at the middle class or their niche, that this is the only niche that I need to cater to? And if
Yeah,
that
see,
niche is
it's
growing,
yeah, that niche is certainly growing. In fact, it frankly is no longer a niche, because you're talking about 50-55% of the Indian population, which is middle class. The last 20 months have seen, as Shweta said, a slight contraction. That's because generally, and our middle class, by the way, is very mobile. A lot of that middle class, lower middle class people will, unfortunately, in their efforts to go into high class, end up in the lower class. Another higher middle class will move into the high class. So that mobility is there. But the by and large, the static portion of the middle class is very large, is very large. We have a young population. Even when I do Facebook advertising, and when I get that Facebook or Insta or Amazon Insights, whatever advertisements I've done, the downloads, the links have been maximum in the age bracket of 18 to 30.
Yes.
All my ads or all my PPC clicks decline after the age of 35, and I get sporadic, maybe 20 clicks, and in the 50 plus category. So this is a good sign, because this is something that will continue in the time to come. What is 20 now will be 30 in 10 years, and there'll be more 20-year-olds coming in, many more than there are today. So that reading part, say, within the middle class and higher class, let's not exclude the higher class. Higher class does read more than middle class. It's just a smaller market within India, but they are reading more books than the middle class. Our focus may be on middle class because of the large population and the slightly easier target that we have. Crime thrillers, romance, and that fluid and easy, smooth language that most Indian authors write very well in. They cater
Okay.
better to middle class. There is
Okay.
nothing for high class except the A-listers. And by
Okay.
A-listers, I don't mean necessarily only those who sell very well. Chetan Bhagat's strategy, although he's a A-lister, is a very, very smooth and fluid writing style, which caters to the youngest and middle class population. So it's very difficult to understand the market, but once you got it, then you know what to write and how to write, and more importantly, how to market it. Middle
Yeah.
class is going to be very, very crucial because it is growing, and that age bracket is also moving upwards. And once they start buying and they get the hang of it, which they really are, then that will continue. That momentum will build up and it will also naturally continue.
Yeah. So very insightful. Yeah, you talked about data points. So that gives a very
It's very
insightful.
crucial.
Yeah. So I would like Shweta to continue on the same. What has been your experience as far as your niche is there, or you're writing for the niche, not writing for the niche, and what is the target market do you have in front of you? So, what's your experience?
Yeah, definitely, Anil. I would really like to share even my experience. I remember when I started writing book, and when I sent my first draft to my mentor, and he was like, "To whom are you targeting? Do you know who's going to be your audience?" So that was the very first moment I realized that yes, I need to target some audience. I need to find out that who's gonna read it. So I never thought of class like middle class or lower class or upper class, because at that time I was reading about, I was writing about the story of a woman who was totally depressed, who got herself into a situation where it was really tough for her. But yes, I targeted the age, as Vivek is saying. Like, I found that means people from 18 to 50, they all can read the book. Yeah, I never thought about like targeting a special class like middle class or lower class, because as you know, I write fiction, a fictional self-help book, and it is going to cater the taste of everyone starting from 18 to 25 to 13, because the kind of theories I give through my books in an easy story manner, so that I can grab a larger audience. This is what I target around when I write. Even my second book also, Life at the Red Crossroads, where even a child who is 14 or 15, it's not like that. If he that per means that child is going to read, he is going to get something. And even if the person who is of age 50, 55, and is really feeling devastated or depressed, he can come out of his situation. So this is the way I write and target. And then I understood, yes, my mentor first told me that you have to target some
Yeah.
audience, then only
Great.
your writing is going to work.
Yeah, great. That's very insightful. Yeah, I think I'll get the insights from Haritosh because he has recently brought his book into the market, and his experience would be very recent, and he has been marketing the book very enthusiastically. And Haritosh, what's your viewpoint on this?
Yeah, I would agree to what Vivek and Sweta said, and I'll probably add another flair to it. If you know my book, the name itself is Small Town Bigger Dream. So when I was starting the book, it was all about my journey, and when I thought about who's gonna be the audience, I said anybody who's from a small town and aspiring to do big in bigger cities, or even in where they are. And that would be my audience, not only the age group, which is somewhere between 18 to 2025, but also people to that segment from B town, C town, who have lot of dreams, bigger dreams, and they want to achieve more. And I wanted to tell them how I got into where I am, what are the things that has been helpful. So targeting not only based on the age but also based on the location, that has have been really helpful to me. Even though I targeted that, I've been getting different reviews from different kind of segment. But as somebody said, if you target everyone, you're actually not targeting anyone. So you have to have a separate segment, that this is where my target audience is. You might get audience from all the segment, but doesn't matter. You need to be clear who's going to be my ideal reader, who's going to read this, and that's where you will start writing accordingly.
Great. So that is the very recent experience of Haritosh on his book. The books that are written by famous and inspirational personalities always sell a lot. For example, APJ Abdul Kalam, Wings on Fire, Sachin Tendulkar, and those famous personalities. Do you think that these books by famous personalities impact the middle class more, and do they then tend to buy these books? So the other way to look at it is, should all these famous personalities write more books so that people in the middle class buy more, and as Vivek said, maybe read also more? So I'd like to put this question to Shweta first.
Yeah, because if the books like written by APJ Abdul Kalam Azad, as you say, these people have reached to certain height. But if we really find out from where they have come from a very low, where they have faced a lot, where they know about their day-to-day struggles, and people tend to connect with them. They feel that if Kalam Azad can do something like that, so I can also. They get inspiration from that, and the that sense of connection actually makes them to buy the book, to read the book, and to know what struggles they have gone through, or what are the means their insights about whatever they have followed or pursued. So I feel that is why they feel connected and they go more for such books.
Okay, great, great. So you say that people who are famous personalities should also write more so that it impacts the middle class more and they start reading more. So Vivek, what's your viewpoint?
No, I 100% agreement. Actually, I personally feel that everybody in this world should read one or two or three or five books of such people, because
Yes.
understanding somebody's journey and the tribulations that he has undergone, the travails, and how actually he has succeeded and what he has done with his success, it, I think, is very, very important. So you might pick a leader which you like. I mean, if you like science or sports or medicine or just simply business, then you can select a particular leader like that. But all leadership stories will generally remain the same. The troubles will be different, the aims will be different, the constraints will be different, everything in success eventually will also be different, but the journey will always be very, very similar. So
Yeah,
if in your own path towards that success, like perhaps Atosh is writing, so that is also generally at a smaller scale, I think it is signifying in general a successful story. So why not read somebody who's actually done a good job?
yeah,
So
yeah,
yes, certainly there should be more books, because with these books, currency is very important. You can't have an inspirational book which was written 10 years back and that still makes sense. You really can't. Nobody would read a book on Sunil Gavaskar anymore. So now you need a book on Dhoni,
yeah,
even Harbhajan for that matter. So therefore, people have to keep writing those books.
yeah,
Old leaders are forgotten. Every leader becomes a bore at last. So all of them have gone now. We need new leaders who have done something great, or who have unfortunately passed away recently. A biography on them. So these are
yeah,
things that need to keep coming in the markets. Every 2-3 months. So somebody in a relative field of choice picks up that book, reads, gets inspired, tries to do something similar, and perhaps then reads Haritosh's book to actually understand how to do it. This book will not tell you how it is done. This book will tell you it can be done.
It can be
yeah,
How
done.
you have to figure out yourself.
yeah,
So many people
correct.
are thrown out of the train, but not everybody becomes a Gandhi.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So
correct,
we
correct,
have to plot our own course, but then you have to understand that people who are thrown out of the train, one of them will become a Gandhi. So that way we have
correct.
to. I think these books are very important. 100% agreement with Shweta and yourself.
Yeah,
Definitely.
so very interesting things that you brought up. Absolutely, absolutely. So that brings me to a question that which everybody knows, that there is a relationship between book reading, not buying, book reading and nation building.
Yeah.
So, in context to India, how do you, Haritosh, how do you see this book reading and nation building? So, if lesser people are reading these books, uh, can I say that it is impacting nation building, or moving to a developed country? Would it impact it? The more people, if they read, the development of the country would be more, and India will become a developed country faster. So, what are your viewpoints, Haritosh?
Wonderful question, Nilji. And why I say wonderful is when you were asking this question, I had this book in my hand. It is Ignited Minds by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Now, this book was written in 2002, 19 years back. But when I read this book is still relevant 100%. Now, this is why we need such books, because we still, this book was written with a vision that India will become developed country by 2020. Of course, we all know that has not yet happened, but it also has a blueprint of how India can become a developed country, right? So we all need such books where the visionary people who are like 20 years, 30 years, maybe 50 years ahead of time, they write, if they write down such books, somebody needs to read those and then implement those. So that's why we need that, and that is why I think it's very important that even for not only for middle class, for any class, for any caste, any region, any country, it's very important that we reach out to our leader. And if what better way than reading their stories, reading their vision through their books, because Abdul Kalam is not here, Mr. Churchill is not here, but you can still go through their mindset, go through their ideas and principle, and hopefully apply them. So I definitely feel that we need to go back to reading and read more as much as we can.
Good, good, good. Very, very, very rightly said. Very rightly said. So we'll be taking up questions from the audience. So please keep them coming. I'll be taking the questions in the middle. And
Meanwhile, can I add one line on this nation building,
oh,
Anil, with your permission?
absolutely. So this is a platform to share views. So absolutely, you can do that.
See, your question was in fact a very nuanced one. A very economical answer naturally was given by Haritos very correctly. But if we are to actually understand the concept of nation state, so when we talk of nation building, reading books generally from Indian authors is bound to have a very strong correlation, according to me, in the same. See, how you identify with your nation, whether you're living in UK like him, or many of my cousins and sisters in America and elsewhere. So they are a part of Indian nation. But if they are not interested in reading any books written by India, nor reading about India, then they slowly cease to be a part of the Indian nation. So if Indian authors are writing good books and they are reaching out to people who are who still identify them as Indians, but they're reading Indian books, Indian contemporary stuff. Every Indian fiction or non-fiction definitely talks about some town, some village, some turmoil of an Indian life, Indian lifestyle, Indian businesses, Indian governments, Indian economies, Indian crafts, and so many other things. So that association will become very strong and very real. So, reading Indian authors, Indian books, fiction, non-fiction, biographies, autobiographies, histories, mythological fictions, everything goes a long way in nation building.
Yeah.
So, economy definitely. That economic part, I think we've already raised in the first question itself. So, certainly, a direct correlation is there both ways. You read more, you will move into higher classes. If you are in higher classes, you are already reading more. And nation building as a characteristic, as a psychological trait, is very, I think, strongly correlated to how much of reading you're doing, notably of Indian authors. You have to read foreign authors as well, because otherwise you really can't choose.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
certainly a very strong correlation again.
Yeah, absolutely. So a good book is a good book, but you
Mhm.
identify more with authors because they have lived in the same country, they have had the same
Absolutely, sir.
culture, and
Absolutely.
they resonate more with you. So absolutely agree
Bilkul.
with you. There is an observation by Devi. She says middle class is more job oriented. They
Mhm.
focus more on academic reading. Creative reading comes later on. I think that's a very valid point. They don't have the time since they are more into getting the money in. Uh, as Vivek and Haritosh and Shweta also said, that once they move up to the higher level, maybe the book reading is more. So very good. Uh, Now, this brings me to a question. What is the quality of book reading? Okay, we have seen that more authors are writing, more people are buying also books. But as an author, how do you see the quality of books that are getting into the marketplace? I would ask Haritosh, since he is a very recent author, how do you see the scenario, complete scenario in Indian context, the quality?
Yeah, that's a great question, Anilji. Something which also makes me a little bit uncomfortable, but I'm anyways gonna say that. I think the focus of writing, which should have been previously, which was previously to put lot of flurry language, lot of showcase your talent in terms of English language or whatever language you are. Now I think it's moving towards what your audience needs. Vivek was saying about Chetan Bhagat. He's known for his very simple language, and that's what is happening. Even if you read international authors like Robin Sharma published his books, or Mel Robbins published her book, all of them have one thing in mind: it's very simple language, and that's what I see changing. And if you read a book like 20 years back, you would still find that you have to go back to dictionary, refer to few words, and that will actually break your chain of thoughts, especially when you're talking about a big plot and you see one example that comes into my mind is the Dan Brown's novel, and I read that probably 18 years back or something, and some of those language was so complicated. As an audience, I will not be able to picturize what's happening, and so many things will happen in one or two or three sentences, and you will be like completely going like in cricket, they all bounces going up. But I think what is happening now is getting more audience centers or reader centric, where they are looking based on their genre or their audience, what kind of language they would be comfortable, and trying to focus on that. So I think it's changing and changing for good. Again, there is always a scope for having beautiful language. We all want to have those beautiful stories that we can relate, but slightly getting lesser over the top, getting to the point.
Great, great answer, Haritosh. Thank you for that. Uh, Now we have got an interesting segment, which is the rapid fire. At the end of the rapid fire, you will get a bouquet, but that bouquet would be virtual only. So you'll have to bear with me for that virtual bouquet only. So I'll start the first with Vivek Chaturvedi. Vivek, your
Oh,
first book, The Secret of the Stolen Islands,
yes.
Secret of the Stolen Idols.
Hmm.
What is the secret?
You have to read the book, sir. You have to read the book.
Correct. That's what I was expecting. Great answer. Which Indian author you admire and why?
Indian author, that's a difficult question, sir. I actually, it's not one of those big authors that you will see. It's actually Neil De Silva. I mean, to be very fair, he's quite a well-established writer now in horror, and his story, his own personal story. If you track it slightly, I mean, he's about 45, 46, and he's got about 16, 17 books. All of them he has written in the last 5 years. Now he's one of the leading horror writers. He's got screenplays and movie adaptations on his books, and he's actually created a genre out of horror, within India. So I'm not going to say it's Amitabh Ghosh or Kushwant Singh. It's actually Neil De Silva, because I can actually follow in his steps.
Okay,
He is my favorite.
great, great. Good, 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 good. So the next one in the rapid fire is choose just one: autobiography, crime thriller, love story, spy novel.
I think crime thriller.
Crime thriller.
Mhm.
Good, great, great, great. The next one is if you are marooned on an island,
Mhm.
which book will you read?
Uh, Empire of the Soul by Paul William Roberts.
Okay, great, great. And what is your best time to write?
Two. In fact, what I've seen generally is that starting part of the book and research work I do very well at night. So I will
Okay.
start at 10 once everybody is asleep, and write up, and generally research and scribble or scratch whatever till about 2 o'clock. And then when I get creative and when I start putting thoughts on paper, I do it early in the morning. So I shift my cycle. Then I'll start waking up at 4 o'clock and write till I have office time. So that's how I have
Uh-huh.
divided, and I've seen that to work for me very well.
Okay. So everybody has to find that
It's very
time when
important,
they.
very, very important. Without that, you
Great.
will only have a writer's block, and then you will blame it on the writer's block, which will never go, which is in fact in your hands and nowhere else.
Thank you, Vivek. That was a very nice round of question answer session. Now we move to the second part of the rapid round, and Haritosh is our target. One reason to buy your
All
book,
right, target
Small
me.
Town, Bigger Dreams. One reason
If
to
you want
buy
to have
your book,
21
Small Town,
principles
Bigger
to
Dreams.
help you, if you want to have not only one, two, but 21 life lessons to grow and succeed in life, by Small Town Bigger Dreams.
Great, great, great. Who inspired you to write the book and why the title? If you can elaborate on that a little.
Who inspired me to write? I think I would say COVID 19 inspired me to write because last year I was alone. I was thinking about that. No, what is that one thing that I want to leave behind? And that's where this whole idea. I would say COVID 19 positively, not COVID positive, but positively impacted or inspired me to write this book. And what was the second part of the
And
question? Sorry, I forgot.
why the title?
Why the title? Okay, I went through different cycles. I started with young Haritos or small town young, and while discussing with friends, somehow this hit me, and when I checked so many people, it was hitting that no small town bigger dreams. Everyone in the small town has those dreams. So somehow out of brainstorming, it came into picture. So
Great, great. So, Haritosh, which is that one book which has inspired you? It can be when you were young
what?
or when you were
Mhm.
working in your company. That one book, if you can just share that one book.
So difficult, but I think in current scenario, I love Robin Sharma's The Leader Who Had No Title. I love that book.
Okay, great, great. Please rate from the highest to the lowest what a book should have. Please rate from the highest to the lowest
Mhm.
what a book should have. Good vocabulary, emotion, plot, hero. I'll say it again. Good vocabulary, emotion, plot, hero.
Definitely plot, hero. What was the third thing I forgot? Good vocabulary,
Mm.
probably the last one.
Okay,
Ah,
so you
yeah,
said
same, same.
Emotion, yeah.
Yeah, exactly
plot,
same.
plot, hero, emotion, and good vocabulary.
So
Great,
I think
great.
he can write a fiction very soon.
That's so
Exactly
tough.
same.
So,
Nice,
Yeah, I
nice.
really salute Vijay and all the fiction writers. I mean, that takes a lot of not writing fiction is still easy. You have either your story or someone's story, and you can do all the research and fact. But writing something which is not there and thinking about going to another dimension, plotting and putting all the twists, that's a real hard work. So kudos to all fiction writers, including Vivek. Sorry.
good, good. So this is the last question, Haritosh, and I think that for me it was a hard one. Nobel Prize for Literature 2021. Who won?
I don't know. Sorry. You
Anyone?
can keep
Anyone?
the book. Yeah, I don't need book. Yeah, I'm not good at prizes.
So anyone?
माफी
Vivek or
चाहेंगे.
Shweta?
No, no, not
No,
at
no,
all.
no.
Not that intelligent.
No, we are actually
So,
far away from it. So once we
okay,
get closer, then we'll keep a tab.
Yeah.
so it is from Zanzibar in Africa, but
Oh,
he's based
oh,
in
amazing,
UK.
amazing.
Abdul Razak Gurna.
अच्छा, अच्छा.
Abdul Razak.
Right up
Nice.
Aritosh's alley actually.
Good. Now we move to Shweta.
Thanks
So,
so
are you
much.
ready, Shweta?
Yeah, yeah, I'm ready.
In short, what does involve to evolve mean? In your introduction, you have said involve to evolve. That was a very interesting paraphrase which you used. What does it mean?
Yeah, see, what I feel, life is constantly changing every moment, even our skin means we as a person change after every 11 months. Your skin changes after every 28 days. Every moment there is a new change, there is a new experience that you take in your life. I would like to say just involve in that and evolve as a new person. So this is what involve to evolve means take your life experiences, involve with it, understand, and just become a new person, come up with a new skin. So this is what I want to say, involve to evolve.
Interesting. Interesting. You have written two books, She Met Life, which has been a bestseller, and Life at the Crossroads. Now,
Uh-huh.
which book is closer to your heart? I think it's
Definitely she
I
met life.
oh
She met life.
because it has been a bestseller.
It has no Life at the Crossroads. It's Amazon's number 1 bestseller, and that's for
Okay.
3 days also. But
Okay.
it was my first book, and I really worked hard for it. I know, because when you write your first book, it's like first child, your first toddler, and by the time I wrote like Life at the Red Crossroads, I am a bit matured, writer. I know how to do. So She Met Life means I love the most. Anyhow, both are equal to me. But yes, if
Great,
someone
great,
asks me to choose between
great,
it, Human Life.
great. So the next question is one book that has inspired you. Any
The
book that
book,
has inspired you.
yes, I love a lot of books, and I like a lot of books, like starting from The Alchemist, Discover Your Destiny. But I definitely talk about one book, that is the autobiography of a spiritually incorrect mystic, means about Osho. That book, when I read it, revolutionized my thought process, my mindset, means the way I changed after reading that book. I read it twice, thrice, because I literally want to change. I want to come out of that comfort zone. Yes, that book I think everyone should read. It's a great book. That book
Okay.
has changed me a lot.
Great, great, great. And what, according to you, is the greatest epic? A book which is an epic.
The book which is the greatest epic for me, I would like to say, Mahabharata. Yes, that is going to be the greatest epic, because I don't think so. Like what Vedvyas has done, anyone can do it till today. Yes.
Great. Yeah, absolutely right. I agree with you. So we'll come to another question that we have. Uh, I think this was touched a little by Vivek in one of the discussions that we had. Do you see a rise in vernacular authorship a reason in increase in readership? This goes to Vivek.
Hmm. And
Yeah,
increase in
I
what?
A
Pardon me?
rise, a rise in vernacular
Hmm.
authorship
Hmm.
is a reason in increase in readership.
Possibly. In fact, qualitatively, if you will see physically quality, the physical quality of vernacular, books, when you actually literally hold the book in your hand, that matters a lot. So that quality itself has shown a great jump. So I've actually had the pleasure of working in Meerut. I've been in Meerut for 4 5 years, heading a branch there. So in that that area has a lot of printing business. So there itself we have seen a lot of publication quality, the kind of binding, the distribution, the printing costs that have gone southwards, but the printing price, the final cost has increased. So that itself saw a marked jump in vernacular. English का production वहाँ कम है. So in general, what I've seen, certainly there has been an increase in readership, quality of writing, because that has I think gone hand in hand with also with English authors. There are many more people writing, even in
Okay.
traditional languages down south or north or east west wherever. So certainly there has been a greater readership in vernacular, and there has also been a spread. I mean, older people who've been reading English for a long time, all of a sudden there has been a slight increase in their picking up of their own mother tongue and vernacular language books. Regional
Okay.
literature is going up, although there is a focus in mass media towards English. Local language sales are they've always been very high in India. It's more than 75 to 80%. So 70 75% is vernacular, 25 30% is English, of which only about 10% is fiction. So fiction
Okay.
business in English is about 3 or 4%, and remaining
Okay.
all fiction is vernacular.
I see.
So if it
Good. Good.
increases anymore, we are out of a job. That's a fact. So, but it is going up. It is going up, especially because there is also an intersection. There's an intersection
Okay.
between vernacular reading as well as English. People are reading both. I have many reader friends and author groups in which people are even writing both. I mean, Jhumpa
Uh,
Lahiri, what has she done? What has Jhumpa Lahiri done? She wrote and she exhausted her mind, according to her own statement, in English. So she has moved to Italy. She has learnt Italian, and now she wants to have thoughts in Italian, so she can write in Italian.
okay.
So there are people like that in English in India, because we have so many other languages that we can experiment with. Very few people have a first language in English in India. Most of them it's a second language, even if they are very good. So they will experiment with their primary language in writing as well as
Okay.
reading. They're not competing with English. That small segment of people.
Okay.
It's a
A
happy
short
news.
answer from.
Please.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thanks, Vivek. A short answer from Haritos because he has had a sweepstake from Jaunpur to UK. So I think he can also add on that
Mhm.
his own experience. Yeah.
No, I think I'll agree to what Vivek said, though I have not been on ground in India for 2 years now. But what happened is I published my book and I tried to uh, go out to people and tell them that this is what I'm writing. One of the very first question I asked is, "Do you have a Hindi print?" Because they thought if I write in Hindi, it would connect more with them, and it comes with the fact that ki हमारी भाषा, this is my language, and people don't need to have a dictionary. They don't need to have that full vocabulary with them. They can read and they can write also in that. So I think that connects with the masses, and that's probably the reason it is getting so popular with the more reading habits coming up. People would like to go back, and I personally would say I would like to read more Hindi book, even though I'm not able to do that. But I would love to read more Hindi book or any other traditional book which goes with the masses. What is the general language they speak? If they find a book, it's much easier for them also to process. So I think that did work, and it's getting very popular.
Yeah, good. Yeah. So that was the experience from Haritosh. I think we are moving to the end of the session, but before that, I'll just like to ask one last question to Shweta. What has been your experience, or what would you like the government or the schools to do so as to increase the viewership, mostly for the middle class? Do you see something more happening that is happening right now?
See, I can't say anything about government side because I can't, because I know it's a very huge country to handle, and they have a lot of their own problems. But I can say for, I remember I had a workshop like a few years back and how to inculcate reading habit in among the children. You know, children do what we do. They don't walk the talk, means until and unless you don't walk the talk, they won't do anything. You just keep on saying them read, they won't read. Even how I inculcated reading habit in my son is like, I remember me and my husband, we used to sit like at 10 a.m, like at night 10 p.m to 10:30, it's reading time at home. No one is going to do any other thing other than reading. Whether my husband is reading newspaper, I'm doing something else, my child has to have some book in his hand. Similarly, I like to suggest to all the schools and entirely throughout the country, like they should have a reading time. Like then from starting from the PN in the school to the the teacher in the class to the student, they should have that reading time allotted, maybe 20 minutes as we have assembly time. Now everyone is involved in assembly. Similarly, if we'll make this thing in school also, like if we have 20 to 30 minutes just reading, and everyone starting from the lower category to the higher, like principal also, or even we have other office management staff,
Yeah,
HR, if they will read, this is going to help a lot. If every day we are going to inculcate this thing in the children,
yeah,
reading is going to go
correct.
up, because this is the only way, because we have to walk the talk. We cannot say reading is doing this, as if we say children focus, but we never say them how to focus. We
Yeah,
just say pay
absolutely.
attention, pay attention. How to pay attention means read, how to read. We have to show them. So this is going to help. Definitely will help.
Good. Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. So we are almost at the end of the session. So any last thoughts for today's? Anything that any one of our panelists would like to add or share?
Certainly, I'll, if, with your permission, I'll go first. This last question
Please.
itself, I think government and organizations such as yourself, they are playing a very key role in publicizing authors. See, a book reading से पहले क्या आता है? Book writing. So
Writing.
if authors are known people, if authors are recognized, or if there are interviews or talks given in schools, then people generally tend to read their books. And it is not just sales that will go up for a particular author. It is actually the art of reading that will be inculcated, a habit that has to form at a very tender and juvenile age. You cannot start becoming a reader at 50 or 45. It really has to start in school. So I think even the new education policy, I think it encompasses a slightly larger, realm for creativity, more creative expression. So I think the governments, they probably are taking, corrective measures. So that I think is a welcome step. And apropos of our panel discussion today, thank you. It was very enlightening. We've got some thoughts from experts in 2 or 3 different fields. And nice hosting, Anilji. Thank you, Haritos.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Shweta. It was a pleasure.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for those warm words. Shweta or Hari, would you like to say some words?
Yeah, definitely.
Sure, sure.
We
I
are
can
also.
go.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Go ahead,
Haritos, you
Sweta. Go
go.
ahead. Sorry.
Okay.
No, no,
So
go
I
ahead. No
think
problem.
we don't need to keep on producing our work. First of all, we should keep produce readers also. What's the use of our producing our work when don't have readers? So inculcating or making people to read is important. Then only our work will be of use to anyone, or they will read. So reading is important, and asking people to read and making them to understand that how reading is going to help them, how reading is going to change them, and why reading is important, that is more important than writing. Writing comes, for me, writing comes the backseat. Because of reading only I am a writer. So I think so that if I write to means I would like to, if my continue my work further, I would need to produce more readers than me producing my work. This is what I want to say.
Right.
And thank you
Good,
once
good.
again,
Yeah.
Anilji, Haritosh,
Thank you.
and Vivek. Good insights
Thank you.
from all of you. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Haritosh.
Yeah, thank you. I think I would add to what Vivek and Sweta already said, and I truly believe that no, before you become a writer, you need to be a reader. And reading should not only become a habit; it should actually become a ritual for you. Like every day, you have to read for whatever amount of time you believe. For me, it's 30 minutes. For somebody whom he can read, he or she can read more or less. But make it a ritual that you have to do at least some bit of reading every day. And once you start doing that, you can actually inspire others also. You can talk about what are you reading, what are you learning out of it, and that's how you inspire others. So first read yourself and then inspire, and then go out and write your book. I mean, there's nobody stopping you, but also read first. And
Yes.
thank you,
Thank you,
Anil
Harish.
ji, Sweta, and a lot of learnings from all of you.
Yes.
No,
Yes. Same
thank
here.
you so much. Thank you, Haritosh. Thank you, Shweta. Thank you, Vivek. I think
Thank you.
I have another list of questions which I would have. I so loved the session that I could have gone for another hour very easily. And such insightful ideas, discussion points, such as simulating discussion, it would not have been possible without Haritosh, Sweta, and Vivek. I thank
Thank
you,
you.
all of you, for taking out the time to be on this session, and we look forward to connecting some other time also uh, on intellectual conversations Phoenix Literary Festival.
Yes.
Thank you so
Sure.
much.
Thank
God
you.
bless. Take care. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you so
night.
Good
much.
night. Good night. Good night, all of you.
Good night,
Yes.
everyone. Thank you.